That'd be great.
Talking about golf carts or something.
I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we do have a quorum here. And we need to approve the minutes from the July 9th, 2025 meeting. Has everybody had the opportunity to review and read those? And
Yes.
very good. And can I hear a motion for approval?
Does everybody have their mics on?
I do.
I do.
Ron does. Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I move to, we approve the minutes from the July 9th meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone did? Motion carries. Thank you. Items of business, if you wouldn't mind scrolling that up a bit. I'm going to try to do this meeting in record time, and I just want to see how many more items we have. Okay, I can handle that. Approval of the final version of the amended and restated Union Square parking declaration. Does the staff have anything to report on that topic?
We have Ryan.
Hi, Ryan Wilmering, Wallach, Summers, and Haas. Before you is, I think now for the second time, an amended and restated declaration for the Union Square project. We were here, I think it was in July, for your consideration of an amended and restated declaration. Again, this, as it says, amends and restates the existing declaration that's of record, controls the maintenance, use, rights to access the project between the parties, where with the building corp being the owner of the garage, an affiliate of Old Town Development being the owner of the apartments that wrap the garage. The difference between what was approved in July and now is two things substantively. One was we had in there in the one approved in July that there was essentially a strict liability standard for anything that might happen to the garage, from the plaza above. There's a pool that's there, and there was concern about, there's seepage, anything coming from that might leak and cause damage to the garage itself. So the language that we had inserted in there was pretty strict, pretty strong against the developer. The developer responded and said, hey, look, we understand the concern about the pool and the water and everything, but your language went a little beyond that, which candidly it did. So we agreed to pare that back a little bit and kind of limit it to the pool and issues specific to that. The other change was to include an exhibit, it's Exhibit G, that includes a matrix of responsibilities between the garage owner on the one hand and the apartment's owner on the other. Who's going to do certain inspections, perform certain repairs, whether it's a day-to-day type thing or monthly or quarterly or annually, and who's responsible for that and at whose expense. So rather than the declaration itself kind of did this in broad terms, this exhibit gets into a little more detail on specific tasks that need to be performed. And so that's what's before you today. So it's very, very similar to what was done in July. The exhibits, the other missing exhibits that you may have noticed, those are intended to be identical to what is attached to the original declaration. The only possible exception would be updating and using a modern legal description as opposed to the original was done with the meets and bounds. Now it's been platted or is in the process of a final plat. And so it's possible that the parties decide to use the modern legal from the plat as opposed to the old meets and bounds legal. The substance is exactly the same. The purpose of it is to describe the same area, just with a different means of doing that.
All right. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the original declaration being tied to this more than Declaration 8. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Well, I thought I heard you say that the original declaration was more representative of what we have here than what the Declaration 8 is? Or is Declaration 8 the version that we were published this week? Is it the most current, live, and definitive document?
It is the current and should be final, subject to the attachment of exhibits. So the request is for approval of the form with the exhibits to follow. Again, substantively, the exhibits should be the same substance described in there as is in the original declaration, not the one from July, the one that's currently of record that was approved years ago.
Okay.
So that one, we're just taking the exhibits from there, attaching them to the one that you have.
Okay,
that
so
you have.
the current declaration is not filed. It's not.
No, because it has to be signed first.
It will be filed, and it will become the document of control.
That's right. This will replace the original one entirely.
Okay,
Yep, yep.
that's fair enough.
So I was going to say, you might in the motion just say, subject to slight revisions to the exhibits, so that we're covered in case there's any, like Brian described, any slight revisions to the exhibits.
Okay. The, we don't want to talk about the quick claim deed here. Is that part of this discussion, or is that? the
It
next-
can be if
is
you
that
want
the
it to
next
be.
one?
So that would technically be the next
All right.
action item. You're welcome to discuss it, but it is the next action item after this one.
We'll wait till then.
That's fine. Ron, you know how they want that motion stated, so if you wouldn't mind making the motion for the first item, the final version of the amended and restated Union Square parking declaration.
Go back to the agenda.
I think we want it subject to the staff's,
Okay, I would make a motion that we approve the final version of the amended, restated document for Union Square parking declaration.
And-
Subject to.
I'll amend that just to say that giving staff the authority to make modest changes to the attachments as necessary to meet the goals of the document. So Ron made the first, I'll
Oh.
make the second with amended. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye. All right, that's been approved. Resolution 2503, accepting and conveying real estate related to the Union at Grand Junction. And Ron, I think you did have a question, so if you'd like to go ahead, start.
Yeah, I have questions about the quitclaim deed here. In the quitclaim deed, it describes Exhibit A, and that the Exhibit A is really the thing that represents what we're talking about here. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In Exhibit A, help me understand what Exhibit A is really telling me that we have.
Sure. I'll back up just slightly to give a little bit broader explanation of the purpose here. As we were just discussing, the project is essentially a kind of a condominiumized development where there's a split of ownership, despite the fact that it looks like, it appears from the outside like one cohesive, integrated project, which it is, but the ownership is divided. And so you really have where, again, the building corp owns a garage in the middle, developer owns the apartments that wrap that. And so when this was done originally, to split the parcels between the two parties, it was done, as we were just discussing with the amended and restated declaration, on a meets and bounds description, assuming this is where the footprint and where the buildings are going to be constructed exactly, based on the plans as designed and approved. of course, anyone who's been in construction knows that there isn't a building in history that's ever been built exactly to the plans or specs as proposed. It could be a couple of inches here, could be a couple of inches higher, lower, east, west. I mean, there's always some variation from the plans. And so what you have here, these are the modern legals from the plat, by the way. So instead of.
Sorry, they're what?
These are the modern legals from the plat that was approved, the replat of the site. So instead of the full meets and bounds that describes all the minutes and angles and degrees and feet, this is just saying, this is referencing the plat, so anyone who had questions could go to the plat and see all those details if you wanted. So that's what this is. The purpose of the quitclaim, though, is to capture, because the plat is based on the as-built nature of the project now. And so what is being requested is that the building corp, as the owner of the garage, is being asked to convey quitclaim to the Old Town, as the owner of the apartments, the apartment building. So not that you necessarily have anything, but to the extent that your site technically includes anything that may have been built where the apartments currently sit, you're quitclaiming that so that Old Town knows that it now owns all that. And vice versa, Old Town being asked to quitclaim to you all as the owners of the garage site. So again, if there's any discrepancy as to where things were built relative to the description, now you have all that, and there's no question going forward that you own the site, the garage site, and the apartments developer owns the apartment site.
Well, in this, it says the garage lot in Union Square at Grand Junction, multi-use building, so on and so forth, as reference to an instrument that was filed in June, 2025 022854. Right, and within that, it defines a lot as just being the facility itself, is that right?
The lot is a plat will use the phrase lot to describe the parcel itself. Just in the same way that any other two-dimensional parcel would be described.
The word lot has a lot of different meanings. So,
Not in this context, though.
well, I don't know. Even in this context, it's either real property that has the land or it's structure without the land. You can have the lot going both ways, can't you?
Well, no, because the plat itself the plat itself describes what that lot is. So by referencing this legal description, one is essentially if you really had questions, if one wanted to really get into this, you're sort of invited to then look up the plat itself, and then that plat document will get into the details of exactly what is included when we say lot, garage lot in Union Square at Grand Junction multi-use building is per plat there. That will tell you what that is describing.
Well, I've looked at that and I've gone through that and I'm still confused because it describes the garage as a lot. It says lot, lower lot, upper lot. But it also describes the rest of them as being lots as well. Does that mean they also own part of the land that the parking garage sets on?
I guess without seeing it in front of me, I'm not entirely certain. But all this would do, though, is as to that particular lot, that's what's being quitclaimed from one party to the other.
Doesn't this just clean up what was everyone's intention
Yes.
from the beginning, right? Just to make sure that these private areas are owned by them and the garage is owned by the building corp?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I missed that, I'm sorry.
I think this is just, the intention is just to clean up what the intention was all along, to make sure that if there's any issues, that the garage area is owned by the building corporation and then excluding the other areas to be owned by the developer.
Well, I thought that the declaration did that pretty well, Declaration 8. I thought it did that pretty well because it had Exhibit B that had all the surveyor numbers and everything in it, as well as the acreage. and the acreage pretty much matches up to what is described in the 854 document that was filed in June.
The
It
declaration.
also clears up the fact that, the garage site is actually not an air site, but a site where the land belongs to the garage. It cleared that up. I'm just trying to figure out how this quick claim deed connects to that declaration through that language. Yeah, that's all I want to know.
Sure. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were finished speaking. The declaration doesn't control who owns what.
Correct.
So this is the idea is to marry all of the intent that everyone has so that we're all talking about the same thing. That's the whole purpose, is so that this is now the as-built. So the plat is described as an as-built description. So the plat, the replat will describe exactly where the buildings have actually been built, not where everyone intended them to be built based on the plans, but where they actually were built.
So what's recorded is the as-built with the county.
Correct. That's what this will do. Is
And
make,
what is described in Declaration 8 matches up to the as-built.
that's the intent, yes. And that's what we were talking about with the amended and
When
restated.
you go to the numbers between what's in the declaration and what's in document 854, there's less than 3 thousandths of an acre in one, and I think 15 thousandths of an acre in the other. So it does describe exactly what we have in Declaration 8. How does Declaration 8 tie into what we have here where it says garage lot? That's what I'm struggling with.
Sure.
Trying to understand that.
They should be the same, and I think that when you all were approving the amended and restated declaration and left open the possibility of swapping out the legal descriptions, this is what we had in mind. That this would be the legal description, for example, that will be swapped in. It's just that we didn't have that conversation with the developer in advance, so that's why we didn't have them attached. But that's the idea, is to use the newest, most modern legal description in the declaration as well.
How does this legal description in this, as cited in this quitclaim deed, tie the garage lot? Because I cannot find a definition for the term lot anywhere in our documentation. How does that tie into garage property, which that does define it in Declaration 8?
The declaration defines garage property, it's just a term that's used. It could have been anything, but that was the term that was used in there. Lot is a specific use within a plat. So they're not, they can be used interchangeably, but one was defined, the garage property was defined specifically just for use within that declaration. They are intended to describe the same thing.
So the declaration has nothing to do with this, does it relate to this quitclaim deed at all?
Only indirectly, in that the purpose behind the quitclaim is to make sure that each party owns what it thinks it owns, based on the final as-built description of the project.
Understood, that's in there and done well.
So, Ron, we run into this in situations like a plat's been approved for a subdivision, and a lot would be one of the housing lots.
Sure, you got that.
Yeah, so that's the same use of lot. The word lot here is what we use it in that kind of a situation.
Well, what you find to me, what I see in the 854 document, and I have it in front of me, it really defines the aspects of the garage as built, not the land that it sits on. It refers to the apartment lots, levels 2 through 5, the same way as it defines lot for the garage. So I'm left to assume, without any definition, that lot means that it's building construction only.
This is not necessarily, because this is, as you referenced, this is more like a condominium type of description or format of a project. So there's going to be separate owners for each. It's like if I own a condo, that's a two-story condo, then I own a portion of both stories of a building that is part of a lot, part of a plat, and then part of the lot, and then within that lot, that's described also with a legal description. Could be, that's my defined ownership lot. It's a term that's used very broadly and frequently and can be confusing, I suppose. I just think it's pretty standard legal language that,
Perhaps it is. So I'll get to my last question. When all's said and done, with this quick claim deed that that he's offering us, will we own the land under the garage?
Yes. Yes, the default with any legal description, so whether it's meets and bounds, a platted description, whatever, is that the what's being conveyed goes all the way to the depths and all the way to the heavens. So it is effectively a 3D legal, although you're describing only 2 dimensions. But the default is that it's everything from the depths to the heavens, unless you state specifically to the contrary.
excludes that.
Yeah, because it might say to 875 feet above sea level, or to whatever number of feet of whatever, and that will then cut off, or it may say to nothing below this, so it will box it in the legal. Otherwise, it's everything.
So if we will be the legal owner of the ground under the parking garage,
That's correct.
they will have a legal ownership of air property that's suspended above it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. At least that's my understanding of how it was described. I haven't, gone through the plat at that, but that's my understanding.
What's your understanding of that?
I would agree with what Ryan's saying. Without any additional questions or time to research into the questions, I
mean,
don't have
I would
an issue
assume
with that
the
as
same,
well.
because common area, you've got the pool above the garage, you've got the apartments. I would just say, I didn't read that. This is kind of common for my background, so I
Yeah,
read that as.
That's right. There is a little area there on I think it's on the east side of the site that was described as common area. That's exactly right. And so that one, again, goes to the heavens.
So you would consider this to be industry standards or practice?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah.
That's kind of what I felt about it, so I didn't delve into it either. Ron, are you comfortable with the explanation to the point where we could make a motion on this, or do you,
No, I'm not motioning.
you're not ready? So is it that you don't think the definition of lot has been clearly defined in making sure that it carries through all of the packet of legal documents that we're dealing with? Is that your primary concern? Or that we don't retain, because we have to retain ownership of that real estate, of the land, literally the land, underneath the parking garage?
Yeah, and that is, by the way, a requirement of the bond.
Exactly.
As well, that you do maintain.
That's paramount.
ownership. Yes, 100% correct, yes.
All right.
Well, my concern is built out of the fact that our articles of incorporation clearly state that we have to own the land under any structure that this body owns. I even looked it up in the statute, and it doesn't say will or may, it says must own the land. So, if there's any ambiguous language here that can lead to any misunderstanding or misconstrue of who owns the land, we need to clean that up. We need to make sure. And if Caitlin, if you're certain that you've got this, that this is under control that way, and you're certain that they've described it that way,
Well, to be clear, it wouldn't be possible from this not to own the ground, because the apartment owner does not own it. So it's not as though he could keep it for himself. And the deed that is being requested for you to convey to the apartment owner does not include the ground. It's only the apartments. So it's not possible that by this, that would change the status of ownership of the ground.
okay.
Yeah, we'll
I
make
think between the much smarter legal advice than I am, and between my understanding of the terminology, I'm gonna go ahead and move to approve the resolution 2025-03, accepting and conveying real estate related to the Union of Grand Junction.
I'll second that motion, and I just state for the record that I completely understand where you're coming from, Ron. I just, these terms are not clouded to me, and maybe that's just simply, or you're probably in the industry, but after 25 years on the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals in Carmel, it's pretty
That's
standard.
what happens when you have a rookie on here, you know?
No, I know you've done a bunch of volunteer work as well. I'm just saying that I'm comfortable, and I know the firm, so, as well, and you. So I'm comfortable with this. So that's a motion. We have a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Are you opposed or? Abstain. Okay, so the motion is to approve this document. And I think we're allowed to abstain. Is that correct? Is this board allowed to abstain, or we have to have?
I would have to go back through your rules. I don't know if that's in there. Typically, yes, but some, the council, I worked on their rules, and they have very specific
yeah.
reasons you can and can't.
Would you be
object?
would you object to just saying no instead? Because you may not be allowed to abstain because you're here.
I am more inclined to vote yes, based on what I've heard today, so I will give an affirmative yes.
Okay, so now we're 3 yes.
That clears that up.
Okay, thanks, Ron, appreciate that. Like I said, I'm very respectful of your concerns, and I'm kind of, with these programs, or these projects and these financings, these are gonna become a lot easier for Brian and I as we get a new one, and then we're already dovetailed, we're already fully engaged in the whole process. When I look at this, set of documents, and that set of documents, I don't look at the history at this point,
Okay,
and
now
these
that
terms are
also
standard.
means that we approved our quitclaim deed back to him as well.
Yep.
Perhaps if we could take a quick read of that, I may be out of
Well, I think
order to
we're-
do that at this point, I don't know.
I don't think we need to. I think we're good to go on that resolution.
Sorry, what's the
I've read it
question?
a dozen times, and so
Where's the resolution?
it pretty much has the same
Well,
language in it.
Yeah, we'll let legal figure that part out. Let's go to the next item, which is the approval of the 2026 meeting schedule. All of those being at 10 a.m. On their various dates. And sitting here right now, it looks,
Subject to change.
yeah, I mean, subject to change and then subject to travel for anybody that's on the dais. But, they look good to me at this point.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve our 2026 building corporation schedule.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Motion carries. And do you need a few more minutes on the question that, in regards to the need to separately approve the,
The resolution, let me grab it one more time. The resolution says that it approves both deeds. That was the point of adding the resolution. So we accept conveyance of Exhibit 1 property, and we authorize to convey Exhibit 2 property by quitclaim deed. So this covers both of the deed actions that are attached to the resolution.
all right. Good. Any other additional business?
We just, the next thing on the agenda would be adopting the building court meeting schedule for next year.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we cruised through that already.
Oh, I voted yes for that.
Yes, you did.
Subject to change.
Always subject to change, yes.
Okay.
So if there's no additional business, anyone Anybody in our vast audience there? No?
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.